Metal Gear Solid is a series known for its long cinematic cutscenes and elaborate story. First released in 1998 on the Sony PlayStation, it popularized the stealth game genre and went on to have multiple sequels. But it wasn't until the first sequel, Metal Gear Solid 2, was released on the PlayStation 2, 3 years later that Hideo Kojima and his team decided to make a high-octane intro. If you're familiar with Hideo Kojima, you know he tends to lean into the obscene and cinematic, and I think it's because of that approach we got as close as I'd say to a perfect video game intro as possible with Metal Gear Solid's threequel, Snake Eater, 3 years later. Often regarded as the best in the series, and for good reason. This installment acts as a prequel to the Metal Gear series as a whole, and rather than being an adventure with Solid Snake, it's headlined by Big Boss, or as he's known in this game, Naked Snake. And rather than being set what was in the modern times for Metal Gear Solids 1 and 2, Metal Gear Solid 3 opted to take the series back to the beginning, in the middle of the Cold War. Without further ado, let's get into it. So it starts off with Konami Presents, then a fade to black. Then bam, incoming newspaper headlines. The Berlin Wall being built and the riots that ensued, the Cuban Missile Crisis, American soldiers in Vietnam, the growing anti-war sentiments, and man first stepping foot on the moon. Setting up the context for the era in which this game takes place, an era of paradigm shifts, the era of the Cold War. Then as you hear those opening lyrics of
"What a thrill, with darkness and silence through the night,"
the Snake Eater title card takes form, and just as quickly as it formed, a snake skeleton just as quickly devours it. Then we get various moments that were inspired by events in the game, such as Naked Snake going through a swamp surrounded by trees on both sides of the river, with all these shots fading in and out and almost seamlessly transitioning into the next shot. As well as some interesting shots where he seems to resemble Solid Snake, such as when he sneaks up on a guard, which is spliced in with shots where he resembles more of the Naked Snake we see in the game. So it seems that some of these clips were left in from early on in the game's development, which explains why Naked Snake's appearance changes occasionally. As per usual, Hideo Kojima's name is seen all throughout this cinematic, which makes sense though, given how involved he was with those games, as well as the names of other important people involved in creating this game. The snake slithering throughout these credits, just as the name in this opening intro slither, like a snake. And then we get the shot of the leaf camouflage, which allows for the aircrafts to subtly emerge and start to fly towards the player. The aircrafts blending in with the surroundings, and hints of how camouflage is an integral part of the espionage gameplay for this game. It's a spectacle just to take in all the smoke effect shots and all the imagery on the screen. It just comes together so well. It just feels so James Bond inspired, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's very fitting. James Bond is a franchise with novels penned and films produced during the Cold War, which is fittingly when this game takes place, with espionage missions being carried out to avoid nuclear catastrophe, and the battles between the US and Russia being fought indirectly as the tension between the warring nations grew. This game would see Naked Snake explore the Soviet jungle and carry out a search and rescue mission, employing guerrilla warfare tactics to complete the mission by any means necessary, with this amazing intro ending the same way as it began, with the game title gradually appearing onto the screen before quickly dissolving again. When you first start the game, it goes directly to the main menu. It isn't until you complete Virtuous Mission and watch the Snake Eater opening that you'll be able to see this intro upon booting the game up again, going through some heavy events leading up to the debut of this opening, almost as a way of having to earn it in a sense. Appearing as a bookend essentially of Virtuous Mission, this intro marks the official start of the main game, Snake Eater. What's fascinating about this song, Snake Eater, which shares a name with the subtitle for the game, is that this originally was just a placeholder song, since Kojima wasn't pleased with the previously recorded songs for this game, so it seems Kojima saw the potential there and how perfect it would be to use for this game. I didn't know this before, but Snake Eater is a term used for the Green Beret that were in Vietnam. The conditions that they had to endure were so intense, they did anything they could to get through the ordeals, the trials, to survive. Even if that meant they'd end up catching and eating snakes, hence being dubbed Snake Eaters, which was fitting for a battle-hardened Naked Snake who had served in the Korean and Vietnam Wars and was part of the Green Berets. meeting the boss during the Korean War, then becoming an apprentice to her, and co-developing the art of CQC, or close quarters combat, with her. There's also a slightly shortened version of the song that plays when Snake is climbing the ladder to head to Volgan's base at Groznygrad, and if you hold up on the control stick the whole time you're going up the ladder, the song ends perfectly when you reach the top, hearing the whisper of when you emerge at the top of the ladder after a long climb, much like you hear at the end of the game's intro, almost like a whisper of congratulations after the climb up. And man, does Cynthia Harrell kill it with the vocals of the song. And sure, some of the lyrics may be considered cheesy and very self-referential, but it's just such a hype intro to me, and cheesy shouldn't immediately have a negative association. It's a good kind of cheese if it could be called that. It fits with the whole aesthetic of this game and set the mood for the rest of the game. It gets you ready to continue the journey, and everything just comes together so perfectly. Plus, I don't think I've ever heard gameplay mechanics being explained in a song sound so good. The cinematic visuals, the music, just everything about it is great, perfectly encapsulating so much about why I love this game. I don't know if there's such a thing as a perfect opening to a video game, but I'm sure if there is, it would have the name of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I'm hoping the remake's intro will be able to capture even some of the essence of this. But until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.